our podcasting outlet, and of course, a bunch of our videos, including national content videos that we've done that span the country and sometimes the globe, that are right there for you on the homepage of wakeupcalldt.com, as well as all of our proud partners being there with us on the homepage as well. And of course, plenty of information that is there for you, making it easy and accessible and free for you to connect with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And you're here with us on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com is where you can pick up the show. We're also back on mixlr.com /wakeupcalldt. So for those of you that remember when we were on MixLR, we've jumped back onto MixLR, so make sure you check us out there, mixlr.com /wakeupcalldt. Plenty of show coming up here as we are back in the studios, our Great Lakes Honda City studios. We are in the travel Great Lakes Honda City studios this past week as I was down in our second hub for Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, not just Wake Up Call, but all of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, my company's second hub, the great state of Florida. And being down there, we were doing Super Powered Pop, our entertainment show covering Universal Studios. We are also doing our Do Diz with Dan Disney show covering Walt Disney World, and of course, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora covering the sports world. So all of that happening, 3 shows at once down in the great state of Florida. So thank you for everything that you shared last week with us for. And as we continue on here, I'll have more coming up from my time down there in the great state of Florida. So make sure you stay tuned for that. You know that Murph is typically with us on a Monday, but Murph this week has a work event, so he's unable to be with us today. And so we will have him with us next week, and excited to have Murph joining the show. So make sure you stay tuned for Murph's return this upcoming week. Today we're going to talk about the NCAA tournament changes. I put them up on my social media and kind of let people see them, but I want to get into it. We haven't really broken it down here and analyzed it here on the show. I was waiting for an opportunity where we would have some time, expanded time, to do that, and today we do. So we're going to be talking about the NCAA tournament changes this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios in hour number 1, and then from there we will go into the conversation with Dave Paziak on the NBA playoffs in 2026 here in the Eastern and Western Conference semifinal rounds. Dave and I will be discussing which teams remain and our thoughts on the series as we get closer to the Eastern and Western Conference finals. And of course, one step closer to the NBA finals and the end of the road for the 2025-26 NBA season. And we'll round out today with the ingredients to success. Last Tuesday, we weren't able to bring it to you as I was traveling. We were featuring other specials, so I'll have a special ingredients to success today, proudly presented by Avicoles, and today's conversation will be on sacrifice being a part of life. So with that being said, inside these Great Lakes Honda City studios, thanks for hanging out with us where sports meets life. And right before we get into those NCAA tournament changes, I want to welcome the newest member of our family. We put out a video on social media and put out some pictures, but I want to make it officially official here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Welcome to the family, Skippy's Ice Cream. Please welcome them to the Wake Up Call family. I am so excited to have Skippy's here with us. Skippy's is a place that, I mean, listen, when those trucks came through the community as a kid, I would run outside and have the opportunity with my mom, my dad, my grandparents to go out and to get some ice cream from Skippy's. And they have all those favorites, right? I would go out there, run out there and get the Ninja Turtle or my favorite superhero. Or you get an ice cream sandwich or a cone. Skippy's has been such a massive part of our community here in Central and Upstate New York for decade upon decade upon decade. And I am honored and privileged that I have the opportunity with the Husted family to welcome Skippy's Ice Cream as the newest member of our greater Wake Up Call family. So many thanks to Gina and to Don for allowing the opportunity of this to happen, for hearing my idea and my desire to connect with Skippy's and to brand them here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. They've been in the community for a long time, and though those trucks don't drive through the community anymore like they used to when I was growing up, those trucks can drive to your community and your event, your private event or your public event. All you have to do, and you could go to Skippy's online, but I'm going to give you the information so that you have it here as well. If you want to get in touch with Skippy's and have them at your event, be it a private event or a public event that we have, that Skippy's goes out to some of these food truck events like the food truck battle that was just at the New York State Fair. And of course, Skippy's will also come out to your wedding and a bunch of different events that you have coming up, graduation and so on and so forth. If you would like Skippy's to be there for you, you can call them at 315-456-9750 to plan your event. That's 315-456-9750. You can also email them if you'd like to go that route. You can email them at skipthecake@gmail.com. That's skip, S-K-I-P, the cake @gmail.com. So make sure you get in touch with them. And if you go right on their website, you could shoot them a message. They have their ice cream push carts, their ice cream trucks, and their soft serve trucks, which have shakes, sundaes, and of course, your cones that you can get as well. You can call them 7 days a week as they've been serving Onondaga County and surrounding areas for many, many years, including my childhood. Get in touch with them by calling Gina at 315-456-9750 or by emailing Skippy's Ice Cream at skipthecake@gmail.com. Be it a birthday party, graduation, meeting, school event, team event, whatever you have going on, Skippy's would love to come to you, so make sure you get in touch with them today. And of course, to everybody watching and listening, Skippy's is at a bunch of food truck events, and they'll look forward to seeing you at those public events as well, where you can be in that nostalgia, bringing it into the world of maybe your children. After you went to the Skippy's truck as a kid, now you get to do it with your kids. There's something to be said about a company that's around for generations, continuing to make memories. And it means the world to me that 3-year-old me and 40-year-old me get to celebrate Skippy's in such an amazing way. From running out to the truck at my grandma's house to now saying, please welcome Skippy's Ice Cream to the Wake Up Call family. Thank you, Don. Thank you to Gina. And thank you to the Husted family, as well as the entire Skippy's team. We look forward to working together here in the community and beyond. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, let's jump into the NCAA tournament and the changes that are being made here. I'm going to bring up the graphics that we have. The men's side and the women's side both released graphics, but we're going to break it all down because men's and women's are both going from 68 to 76 teams. 76 teams. Now, keep in mind, folks, when you say, well, that sounds like a lot, Dan. That sounds like a ton of teams. Well, Division I basketball, the amount of teams that are in Division I basketball, there are over 350 schools. So over 350 schools, let's just say 350 to make it a round number. If you divide that by the 76 that are, if you take the 76, and divide it into the 350, that's only 22% of the field that's making it. So for those people that are going, wow, 76, that's too much. Dan, I think we're gone too far with this. Let's just realize the fact that, yes, 76 sounds like a lot of teams. It does. But when you're dealing with, you got to look at the pool, though. 76 sounds like a lot, but when you look at 350 plus, you're taking less than 22% of the country. Less than 22%. So, to me, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't sound as crazy. But let's break it down. So, the opening round changes. From 2011 to 2026, this past season, right, the 2025-26 season, we had 4 total games in the opening round. From 2011 to 2026, we had 4 total opening round games, the first 4 that are played in Dayton, Ohio, when we talk about the men's side of things as we break this down. So there was 4 total games there was 4 automatic qualifiers that faced off against each other and 4 at-large teams that faced off against each other. 8 teams in these 4 total games. 4 were automatic qualifiers. They had won their conference tournament. 4 of them were at-large teams. They were teams that were selected after not winning their conference tournament. There was 2 games per day, and they were played in Dayton, Ohio. In 2027, so in this 2026-27 season that will be capped off by the 2027 NCAA tournament, we will now see on the men's side of things 12 games instead of 4 opening round games, and we're not going to call them play-in games anymore. We're going to call them opening round games. So 12 total games instead of 4 gives us 8 more games. With 8 more games, that means we're going to have 16 more teams. So instead of having 8 teams playing in the opening round, we have 24 teams playing in the opening round. So we've multiplied that by 3 of what we're used to. There's 12 automatic qualifiers that will face off against each other, which means there will be 12 conference champions that will have to play in the opening round. Then there's 12, which means they're going to protect the SEC and the Big Ten and the autonomy group, which is what they're doing in everything right now, because the NCAA has to play nice with autonomy, which I told you years ago, you don't select a term lightly. And you select the term autonomy, stating that you're self-governing. So you say, we're the autonomy group within the NCAA, which means we're the self-governing group inside of a place that governs us, which to me is, we govern ourselves even though we're under this thing. We're in it, but we're not in it. Like, we're in it, but we're not in it completely. Or we could do whatever we want, or we can leave when we want to. So that's something to pay attention to, right? The reality of the autonomy group is, as much as they are in the NCAA, they still function on their own island in a way. And now I believe this is going to continue to pander to that. Because when you have 12 automatic qualifiers, which means 12 conference champions are going to have to play in the first round, in the opening round, when we know that that's going to happen, we're now in a position where we're going to have 12 of the 31 conferences having to be in the opening round and won't be specifically in the overall. They're not going to, I'm trying to not say play in while I'm discussing this, but essentially, as you're looking at these graphics, and for those of you listening, and I'm breaking it down for you here, for those listening on MixLR, what we're doing is we have the round of 64, the round of 32, 16, 8, 4, and, obviously the national championship. The round of 64 is where I believe we should have, if you win your conference tournament, and there's 31 conferences, if you win your conference tournament, you should be in. When they say automatic qualifier, I don't believe that should be automatic qualifier playing in the opening round. I don't believe you should have to play in the opening round if you've won your conference tournament. But, again, they're going to pander to the autonomy group. They're going to pander to the SEC and the Big Ten, just like the college football playoff, in my opinion, because they've already shown that they're doing this. And this is not a knock on the SEC and the Big Ten. I'm just stating a fact. People have, most of you understand that when I'm stating factual evidence and I'm telling you what's happening and I'm backing it up with factual evidence. Most of you understand that. A few of you have thought, well, he hates the Big Ten, he hates this, I don't hate anything, number one, because my grandmother told me don't ever hate anything. Hate's too strong of a word and you can't come back from it. But 2, this has nothing to do with I like it or I dislike. None of that. I respect the SEC. I respect the Big Ten. I cover those conferences. I cover conferences all over America. I have nothing wrong with any conference. I am specifically stating that if you check history recently, the SEC and the Big Ten have been pandered to. And I believe now having 12 conference champions play in the opening round is pandering more to them. Because are they going to really be in those at-large games? Maybe a couple of them. But I believe putting more teams that won their conference tournament in the opening round That's if you put more of them there, then you're not putting them automatically in the round of 64, which is opening that up to other teams to take those places in the at-large world. So let's look at 2027. Let's get back to it. I just needed to make a little side note here that I don't believe. What's the point of winning your conference tournament? Well, you get in the tournament. Yeah, but you get in the opening round. Some of you get in, and some of you kind of get in. 19 conference champions of the 31 are going to get in the round of 64 under this new format. 12 of those conference champions are going to go into the opening round and have to play their way into the round of 64, which I don't think is fair. Because I believe if you're an at-large team and you didn't win your conference tournament, you should be the only ones playing in the opening round. But they've expanded it, 12 total games, 24 teams. 12 of those 24 will be automatic qualifiers. So 12 of them will be conference champions playing in the opening round. And 12 of them will be at-large teams, which are teams that didn't win their conference tournament and were chosen by the NCAA selection committee to get into the tournament. There will be 3 games per day instead of 2 games per day. There'll be 3 games per day per site. They'll continue to play in Dayton, Ohio for half of those 12 total games, which means 6 will be in Ohio instead of 4. And then half will be played at another location to be named later. Those 6 allegedly may be played on the West Coast, may be played in Vegas, some things that have been stated. So that's what it looks like. Now, speaking on the men's side, let's look at the women's side of things here. The NCAA Women's Basketball March Madness expansion, a new opening round adds 8 more teams and 12 total games before the 64-team bracket begins. So, the women broke this down a lot better. This is broken down a lot better in the graphic. The men's side talked about the opening round change. The women looked at like the entire scope of everything here. So we're going to talk about this as this is up on your screen, and let's discuss it here. So as we look at the women's side of things, 76, so they break down the entire piece here, and we're going to do that, but I want to go to the opening round. So the tournament timeline, March 17th and 18th, the opening round, 6 games per day. So on the 17th, they'll have 6 games. On the 18th, they'll have 6 games. And the opening round for the women's side is going to be played at 12 campus sites. So those 12 games now are now they're going to be at the camp. So the men are in Dayton, Ohio for 6 of those games. And then they're going to have a new location potentially on the West Coast or toward the West for the other 6. The women are going to play all 12 of those at campus sites. Right? So you got a play-in game. You're the better seed. You get another game at your school, more money for your school, more opportunity there for your venue on your campus, which is huge. So 24 teams, 12 games, same as the men. They're going to have 24 teams in the opening round, 12 games, but different from the men. They will not be played at a neutral location. They'll be played at 12 campus sites. Now, the 12 lowest seeded automatic qualifiers will be in 6 games, and the 12 lowest seeded at-large teams will be in 6 games. No crossover matchups. So it'll be automatic qualifier versus automatic qualifier, which is a conference champion, at-large versus at-large. There'll be no automatic qualifier playing an at-large team in the opening round. So the women broke this down in their graphic. The graphic here for the women really shows the men's and women's side here, explaining it a little bit better. 76 total teams in the tournament instead of 68. 8 more teams added to the field. 12 total games before the 64-team bracket begins is breaking it down. Here, what stays the same for the women, the first and second round games will be at campus sites. You know the women do that. So they're going to have the opening round at campus sites for the 12 games. They're going to have the first and second round at campus sites for the women. And then the 64-team main bracket structure, the regional rounds, the women's Final Four, that all stays the same. So that's what it looks like here. And the women being a little bit different. The men, their sites are chosen. And obviously, if you're a higher seed, you may be playing closer to home. But on the women's side of things, if you're in the first and second round or in the opening round, you're playing at home. So the women have the opening round, the first round, the second round, so the round of 64, the round of 32. That's all played at campus sites, where the men don't have that. The men are not doing that. So that's where the difference is between the two tournaments. But they're both expanding to 76. They're both doing the 12 total games instead of 4 for the opening round. They're both having 12 of those teams in the 12 opening round games of the 24 teams. Half of them, 12, are going to be conference champions. The other half, 12, are going to be at-large teams. So that mirrors each other. The difference is where they're played. So both tournaments expanding to 76. The men, 6 of those opening round games in Dayton, Ohio, which is great for Dayton that they're going to stay in Dayton because Dayton's had what's called the first 4. It's now called the opening round. Dayton has had those for years. I've been out to Dayton, Ohio. The experience is incredible. I loved it. I loved the arena. So I loved where my hotel was because I could walk to the arena. So Dayton gets to keep it on the men's side for the neutral site for the opening round. And instead of having 4 games, they now have 6. So they not only get to stay within the NCAA tournament on the men's side, but they gain 2 more games. And there's going to be a new site, probably somewhere on the West Coast, that's going to get the other 6 games. The women, with adding these 8 games from 4 to 12 in the opening round, they now are going to have the opportunity to have more games on site at the campuses of the teams. So that's the difference. Mirroring each other, expanding to 76 and the amount of teams that are in the opening round, but the men neutral site, the women focusing on campus sites, and this will take us from the opening round to 64 to 32, 16, 8, 4 in the national champion. So once we get out of the opening round, we're still going to 64 and moving on from there. So it's not changing the bracket essence outside, of that opening round. It's not changing the bracket essence. Let's look at the women's side here first. So on the women's side, just to give this thing a closer look, so this is how it'll work out. In the opening round here on the bracket that's up on your screen, the automatic qualifier games will be a 15 seed versus there'll be 2 games of 15 seeds, and all the 16 seeds will be in the automatic qualifier opening round. So if you're a conference champion and you're deemed a 16 seed, you're going to play no matter what in the opening round. 16 versus 16 for 4 games. So all of the 16 seeds will have that opening round. Half of the 15 seeds will have it, 2 15 seed games. In the at-large on the women's side, we will have all of the 12 seeds play each other. So those 4 games for the 12 seed and then 2 for the 11 seed. So that means that every bracket in the women's tournament, every 16 seed will be played for in the opening round. 2 of the 15 seeds will be played for in the opening round. All of the 12 seeds will be played for in the opening round. And 2 of the 11 seed lines will be played for in the opening round. So that's what it looks like for the women's side of things. Because you know how we were sitting here when it comes to the playing games and saying, okay, well, is it an 11 seed? Is it a 12 seed? Is it a 13 seed? Is it a 15? Who's playing into this? Well, now we know what that looks like. That's going to be mirrored on the men's side as well. So if you win your conference tournament and you're deemed a 16 seed in the men's bracket, you're fighting to get in. So all the 16 seed games will play in the opening round. 2 of the 15 seeded games will play in the opening round for the men's side. And so if we flip to that on your screen, it's going to look exactly the same as the women's. And then you have your 12s and 2 of your 11s. So for your at-large. So once again, mirroring each other in the new NCAA tournament format here. The round of 64, once it's decided, everything once we get to the round of 64 is the same. The difference is adding those opening round games and knowing the seeds already. So if you are a 16 seed, there will now be, instead of, a 16 seed automatic qualify, like a 16 seed getting in and another 16 seed getting in and then having 2 of those 16 lines being played for. Now, every 16 seed will be played for in the opening round. So there will be 8 teams deemed a 16 seed in the men's and women's tournaments that will be fighting to be the 16 seed. There will not be anybody on the 16 line that's going to play a number 1 seed in the bracket that doesn't fight in the opening round to get in. Half of the 15 seeds have to fight to get in. The other half do not. And then as far as the and that's for automatic qualifiers. And then for the at-large, it's not going to be, well, this year we have 13 seed at-large that are fighting to get in. Next year we have 14 seed. Then we have, 10 seed. No, it's going to be the 12 seed in the 5-12 matchup, because the 5-12 matchup has been a danger zone for the 5 seeds. So all of the 12 seeds in the at-large side will play to get in, and then the 11 seed, half of them. So again, the men's side and the women's side are mirroring each other here when it comes to those opening round games to get into the round of 64. There will be an automatic qualifier opening round side and an at-large opening round side. The automatic qualifier side will always be all of the 16 seeds facing off against each other. So 8 teams trying to get the 16 seed, 2 teams trying to get the 15 seed. So there will be 2 other 15 seeds that are not going to have to play in the opening round. They're automatically going to get in. So you have your automatic qualifier side where every 16 seeded matchup will play in the opening round, which means there will be 8 teams fighting for the 16 seed spot. And then we will have 4 teams fighting for the 15 seed spot. That's with the automatic qualifier, the conference champions. So that means we'll have 6 conference champions and we'll have 6 games of conference champions. We'll have 15 versus 15, 15 versus 15, and then 16 versus 16 times 4, right? And then in the at-large side for the men's and women's side, every 12 seed will be fought for in the opening round, and 2 of the 11 seeds will be fought for. 2 of the 11 seeds will outright be decided. So I like that it mirrors, because now we're not looking at it going, wait, so what do the men do and what do the women do and how is this different? How is it the same and this and that? So at least we know that we're in a place where things are going to be mirroring each other. The campus sites will be the difference. For the women's side, they focus on the campus sites. The men are going to have Dayton, Ohio for the opening round continue, and then they're going to have another site that potentially will be on the West Coast that will host the other half of games. So outside of where the games are going to be played, the men and women have mirroring now. Okay? 68 to 76. That's done. Opening round, 12 total games, 24 teams. Half of those games, 12 of those teams will be conference champions, and the other 12 will be at large. The 12 conference champions will play in 4 16-seed matchups, 2 15-seed matchups. The at-large will play in all 4 12-seed matchups and 2 of the 11-seed matchups. And that's going to be the same on the men's and women's side. So now we know, when the bracket is released, we know that there's not an outright 16 seed. We know that a conference champion deemed a 16 seed is going to play in the opening round. And then when we see the bracket come out, we might see a 15 seed, let's say 15 seeded Richmond. Richmond's outright a 15 seed. Let's say St. Joseph's is outright a 15 seed. And then we have play-in. The other 2 will be play-in for 15 seeds. The opening round will be, 15 seeds decided. None of the 12 seeds will be decided none of the 12 seeds will be decided outright in the bracket. They all have to play in the opening round. And then half of the 11 seeds. So let's say Syracuse is an 11 seed, and let's say St. Bonaventure is an 11 seed, and they're outright. And then the other 11 seeds are going to face off against each other. So it's good that we have structure now. It's good that we know there's going to be 12 play-in games, 12 opening round. I keep wanting to say play-in because you're playing into the round of 64. 12 opening round games. And we know half conference champions, half at large. Now, I am not a proponent of taking a conference champion and not putting them in the round of 64. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not. So the word automatic qualifier should mean you're in. It should mean you're in. It should mean you're in the round of 64, not that you're playing to get in the opening round. But at least they didn't do all, conference champions and then screw over some conferences. They did half and half. So they're saying, hey, half of the at-large, y'all are going to fight for your life. And then they can say, so half of the at-large, or 6 of the at-large teams, you're going to fight. And then outside of that, we're going to have, automatic qualifiers fighting. We're going to have at-large fighting. We're going to have both, right? So you try to create a system that works and a system that is not punishing one side or the other side, but now we have structure. I think the structure is going to help. I think the structure is going to make it better because every NCAA tournament, starting with this season, 2026-27, with the 2027 NCAA Division I men's and women's tournaments, we know starting this year, we have 76 teams. On the women's side, there's 24 teams in the opening round in 12 games. On the men's side, it's the same. On the women's side, there's 6 games, 12 teams that won their conference tournament, and 6 games, 12 teams that are at large that didn't win their conference tournament. On the men's side, it's the same thing. And then after that opening round, we're back to 64, 32, 16, 8 for national championship. Both sides. So to me, I like the structure. And I like the fact that we know the seeds. So we know if you're a 16 seed, you've won your conference tournament. Now, I don't believe that 16 seeds should have to be put there if they won their because listen, 2 16 seeds in the history of men's Division I NCAA tournament basketball, 2 16 seeds ever have won. 2 ever. So I think it was like before a 16 seed beat a number 1 seed, it was like 118 wins for the number 1 seed to 0, something like that, something ridiculous. So I don't like that every 16 seed will be a conference champion playing a conference champion to see who the conference champion is that's going to move on and have to play one of the 4 number 1 seeds. I don't like that. I'm not a proponent of that. I think the tournament would be better if the 16 seeds were at large teams. So those 16 opening round games, if that was at large versus at large. Because then you would have, so instead of being a 12 seed, what if Kentucky, right, was within that? Kentucky wins in the 12 in the 16 seed line instead of being in the 12 seed line. Kentucky wins and they got to play Ohio State in the first round. Like, that would be amazing. You know what I mean? Then you're going to have more 16 seeds that are beating 1 seeds. So, like I said, I like the structure of it. I don't like the fact that we're still punishing automatic qualifiers, which are teams that won their conference tournament. I don't like that. I just don't like that part because you want to be fair, right? And the NCAA tournament, to me, why do they call it March Madness? Because anything can happen. But the more that we pander to the autonomy group, the less is actually happening. You know what I mean? It's not March Madness anymore. It's like Blue Bloods March. There's no madness. There's very little madness. And with NIL and the transfer portal, the diamonds in the rough that Wofford teams are finding might be playing for North Carolina instead of playing for Wofford. So now Wofford's not going to get that upset in a 6-11 matchup because they don't have those players anymore. So, to me, NIL and the transfer portal are killing March Madness. And I think when you take a conference champion and you punish that conference champion, you're also hurting March Madness, because shouldn't the at-large be fighting for those spots? So now what they're essentially saying is we are going to have every 16 seed in an opening round game, which means there will be 8 teams fighting for that, which means there will be 8 conference champions of the 31 fighting to get in. So that's almost a quarter of the conference champions or it's more than a quarter of the conference champions that are going to be fighting to get in. You have 8 of the 31. Yeah, it's 26%, a little bit over 25.8%. So it's more than a quarter of your national scope of things. You have 31 conference champions. 8 of them, 25.8%, are going to be playing for their lives to get in to the round of 64 in the opening round. And then after they play in the opening round, they got to play a number 1 seed. Then 2 of the 15 seed lines are going to be playing to get in that have won their conference championships. And then they're going to have to play 2 seeds. So they got to play an extra game, and their back's already against the wall because they're going to be playing the best teams, arguably, in the men's and women's tournaments. So let's go to the other side. Let's go to the at-large. Now you got your at-large, all of your 12 seed lines, all of them, every year, are going to play to get in. So you're going to have 8 teams playing for the 4 12 seeds. And the 12 seed been upsetting the 5 seed. So if you're an at-large 12 seed, you got to play an extra game. Does that help the 5 seed now? Or does it give you momentum? And then you have 2 of the 11 seed lines up against the 6 that are going to be fighting to get in. So, I mean, I like it in the sense of symmetry between the men's and women's tournaments. But the question becomes, does it help it? Does it help or hurt these teams, right? I won my conference tournament. I have to play to get in. I'm a 16 seed. Oh, look, I got in. I won in the opening round. Now I have to play the number 1 seed. Or I'm a 15 seed. Again, I think it should flip. I think the at-large should be the 15 and 16 seeds. I think the automatic qualifiers should be the 11 and 12s. Or make them 13 and 14. Because, yeah, but they might have to play in, but then give them a fighting chance in the middle of the bracket instead of putting them against a 1 seed or a 2 seed. So the committee has made it clear. A quarter of the nation, even when you win your conference tournament, are going to be playing in the opening round. Of those 16 seeds. So you won your conference tournament, you got the worst seed, and you got to play in. And then 2 of the 15 matchups. And then in the at-large world, a team like an Ohio State or a Kentucky or maybe a Villanova or a Syracuse or a Marquette, you're going to be playing in an at-large opening round as a 12 seed or an 11 seed, which is going to make things interesting. I like that we've expanded to 76. I like that Dayton's getting 2 more games. I like there's going to be another site. So it won't just be Dayton. There will be another site on the men's side. I like that the women are expanding with the men and that it's not going to be unequal or uneven between the 2 tournaments. Hopefully it'll help people to, if you understand one, then you understand both, and hopefully you'll watch both because basketball is basketball, ball is ball. I don't understand when people say, I watch basketball, but I don't watch women's basketball. And I'm like, basketball is basketball. If you like basketball, why wouldn't you like whoever's playing? Why does gender matter when you're watching a basketball game? So, I mean, I've been covering men's and women's basketball since I started my career at 18 years old. I was told I was going to cover men's basketball, and I said I'm going to cover both. I stood up for women back in 2003 when I was considered stupid for doing it. And I continue to stand up for women's sports because why would I not stand up for men and women equally? So I like the fact that the tournament is mirroring. I like the fact that adopting 76 teams, that the opening round looks the same, that the seeds that are playing in the automatic qualifier looks the same, that the seeds are playing for the at-large looks the same, that it's the same seeds every year, that we know it's going to be all 16 automatic qualifier on the opening round games. We know all the 16s and half of the 15s, and in the at-large, all the 12s, half of the 11s. I like that we know that. I like that there's structure. It's not this year it's a 12, next year it's a 13, the year after that it's 14, then it's a 10. No, I like that there's structure. I would love it if winning your conference championship would provide an even playing field for all of the 31 conferences, instead of 19 getting into the round of 64 and 12 going to the opening round. That I disagree with. But as far as the expansion goes, let's see how it goes. And let's see if it helps. Let's see if it just means that the entire SEC and the entire Big Ten are going to get in every year. Or if this means we're maybe going to get more than one team from the A10. Maybe we're going to get another Big East school in, right? Which I still think they're kind of right there with the autonomy group as far as strength of conference, and sometimes stronger than some of those conferences. But let's see what this does. Does going to 76 provide more opportunity for the Big Sky, for the Big West, for the A10, for the Sun Belt, for Conference USA, for the American? Or is this just pandering to the autonomy group? Is this taking 12 out of 16 SEC teams every year? Is this taking 10 out of 18 Big Ten teams every year? Is this taking, 9 to 10 Big 12 schools? More ACC schools. And I don't say the ACC, as I said the other ones, because the ACC got disrespected of many years. This year they got a bunch in, but for the last few years, they weren't getting the respect. So let's see what happens. Because to me, there's 31 conferences. Take out the autonomy group of the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, and the SEC, and let's put the Big East there. So let's take 5 of the 31. That's 26 other conferences getting one team in, arguably. And of those 26 getting one team in, now with the new format, you're going to have 12 of those teams, 12 of those champions playing for their lives. So now you only got 14 of those conference champions that are not in the autonomy group or the Big East. You have 14 of them that are now in the round of 64. Is that fair? And then taking nobody else from their conference. So it's essentially taking 26 conferences and saying, what is the 76? Is the 76 going to help them? Or are we just playing to 5 conferences? Because if we're going to do that with the college football playoff and we're going to do that with the NCAA tournament, then what does expansion mean? Expansion just means more access to the conferences that already have the most money, already steal everybody in NIL, already steal everybody in the transfer portal, and already have more resources. March Madness is supposed to be about madness, which has to do with teams that are winning that you don't typically hear of or know, or maybe they're not household names. But if expanding the tournament is just to provide more access to the autonomy group plus the Big East, what are we doing? Right? So that's something we have to think about. And making 12 conference champions fight for their lives in the opening round, and then telling 19 you're in the round of 64, what is that doing? That's getting closer to taking half of the conference champions and putting them in the round of 64, and almost half of them playing for their lives in the opening round. Is that fair? Because I've argued that if you're in an opening round play-in game and you're trying to decide a seed, 12 versus 12, 16 versus 16 or whatever, shouldn't that be the at-large teams? Because they didn't win their conference tournament and they're literally playing in, right? The committee has to select them. The committee has to choose to put them in. Well, what the committee has done is said, we're going to take 12 of those teams in the at-large and 12 of them of the conference champions. We're going to give the at-large that are fighting for their lives a better seed than the conference champions. Why should they have a better seed than the conference champions? Well, because they come from a better conference. Okay, but now, because of what you've done, you're always going to say these conferences are below these other conferences. You're always going to say that. Because Kentucky's not going to play in the 16 seed. Because if the SEC, Kentucky's their conference champion, they're never going to be a 16 seed or a 15 seed. Right? But now you're saying the conference champion of the NEC or the Big Sky, they're never going to, you know what I mean? If they're playing in as a 15 or a 16. They can't play in as a 12 or 11. That's for the at-large. So, again, I think the expansion is good. The structure is good. I think identifying the seeds is good. And I think it's good to have the men's and women's tournament mirror each other outside of neutral site versus campus site. But does this really change anything for 26 of 31 conferences? That's left to be seen. We'll take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Stay with us inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We're staying with basketball, but we're going from college to pro with Dave Paziak right after this with DT and DP here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here, we just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing, and so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. Everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and in those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community any way we can, and I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
Avicoli's restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on in to the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry-loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's K9, ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily?
Hello, this is Dylan Husted, the owner of the Baked Potato Express. We do mostly big festivals or big corporate like private events. Typically just big festivals such as like Taste of Syracuse, a food truck battle, Battle of the Wings. I do the state fair. They're ordering from a fresh food truck that is making real food and happy to make it and wants them to enjoy every bite. We season every potato before they go in the oven, and then they bake for an hour, and when they come out, we season them again after we cut them. We use real butter, real cheese, real ingredients, so it's all really good food and people love it. We have a lot of returning customers and regulars that we see very often. The customers really make a big impact, and this is a big food truck community. The events here are super busy. It's like in my blood. I like building things and creating stuff that people love, and me and my friends are the ones that run the truck, so it's kind of, we keep it's a tight circle in there, and we have like a family sort of oriented truck, and it's a lot of fun, and we have a good time doing it, and people love our food, so it ends up making it well for everybody. You can contact the Baked Potato Express at thebakedpotatoexpress@gmail.com or the Baked Potato Express on Instagram or TikTok. We are very happy to be partnered up with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as the exclusive sponsor of the Annoying Moment of the Week. And be sure to try DT's baked potato creation at all of our food trucks. The Baked Potato Express. Let's get baked.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I cannot thank you enough for being a part of the show up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. We appreciate you so very much, as always. And going from the NCAA tournament to the NBA, we're going to get Dave's thoughts a little bit here about the NCAA tournament because he is a longtime college basketball head coach. And so I do want to get his thoughts on this as well as we bring Dave in where sports meets life here to DT and DP. So do want to get his take about this a little bit. And of course, we're going to jump into the world of the NBA as we are here picture in picture with Mr. Paziak, longtime basketball head coach and analyst of the game here with DT and DP. And we will be discussing not only the NBA playoffs and the NBA draft lottery, but what we were talking about before the break with the NCAA tournament, making some changes on the Division I side. Dave, how are you?
Doing good, Dan. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. I mean, Dave, first and foremost, I want to start there with the NCAA tournament. I was breaking it down, and it's a lot of information. So, kind of trying to sift through it all and help people understand it. 68 to 76. Let's start there. We're going to break it down piece by piece. Do you like adding 8 more teams to the men's and women's Division I tournaments?
Not the way they did it.
I agree.
I, if you want to expand the tournament, it's basically, let's call it what it is. It's a money grab by the power conferences. Um, the NCAA and the power conferences trying to get more teams in the tournament, bigger share of the pot, and um, kind of further squeeze out the mid majors is what it really boils down to. Is I think that expanding the tournament, if you're going to expand the tournament to include teams that had a really good season and, got knocked off in their conference tournament, that kind of thing. But, I thought I saw a thing where it said the tournament jumped the shark with this move. And that's a little bit of how I feel about it is I think it's just, a way for them to get more, middle of the pack, sub 500 in conference, mediocre power conference teams into the tournament and squeeze out the mid majors.
I agree. And what I was saying about this, I definitely agree with your sentiments as we break it down with the addition of 8 more teams to the men's and women's side. We are looking at an expansion of the opening round, which you're playing to get into the tournament. No, they don't want to call it the play-in, but you are playing in. You're playing in your seed. And as much as I try and stay away from the notion of play-in, that's what you're doing, right? You're not a 16 seed. You're a 16 versus 16 play-in. You're not a 12 seed. You're a 12 versus 12 play-in. But here's the thing. As they broke it down, and to your point, they said if you're an automatic qualifier and you have won your conference tournament, you played 30-plus games, then you went into your conference tournament and you won all those games. So now you've played 34 games and you're the champion of your conference. Congratulations. 19 of you are in the round of 64. 12 of you are fighting for your life in either Dayton or somewhere else on the men's side or at your campus site on the women's side. Every 16 seed line will be a conference champion. There will be 8 conference champions fighting for the right to be a 16 seed. There will be 4 conference champions fighting for the right to be a 15 seed. The at-large that have those 6 games in the opening round, they're fighting to be a 12 seed, which has toppled a 5 seed numerous times, or they're fighting to be half of the 11 seeds. So let's go to your point and let's go to that. What are your thoughts on telling a team, you won your conference tournament, you're an automatic bid? Some automatic bids are automatically in the round of 64, which is what I thought it was supposed to be. 12 of you have won your conference tournament, played 30-plus games, and you will now fight for your life in the opening round. And if you win that game, most of you will play a 1 seed, some of you will play a 2 seed. What do you think about telling a conference champion, now you have to play for your life, you're automatically in, but you're not automatically in, and now you have to go and play a 1 seed or a 2 seed if you win?
Yeah, that's exactly what I don't like about the tournament expansion. If you expanded the tournament, gave out every conference champion an automatic advancement to the round of 64, the real first round, and you made all these mediocre power conference, sub 500 in their conference teams, bubble teams play in, for 12 spots. I wouldn't have a huge problem with that. But like I said, I think the other thing that people, it's getting lost in the sauce a little bit. The 12-5, the 11 over to 6, the 13 over to 4s, like those have been like the fashionable upsets, especially the 12 over to 5. That's not going to happen in the form that it has in the tournament, the way it's now structured, because those those mid-major teams, the really good mid-major teams that were falling on the 12 line, once in a while on the 11 line, but usually the 12 line or the 13 line that were winning that first round game and knocking off a 4 or 5 seed from a major conference. Those games are not going to happen anymore because those teams are being pushed back to, the team that was maybe, the last 11 or 12 seed or something. They're getting pushed back to the 13 and 14 line. Um, the 13 that occasionally won. Now that team's going to get pushed down to the 15 line. So I think, the tournament has become more and more chalk the last couple of years anyways, or more and more power conference dominated, I guess better way to put it. And I think we were already looking at a situation where the days of um, the Florida Atlantics and the Butlers and the George Masons getting to the Final Four. Um, the likelihood of that happening in the current college basketball landscape has diminished incredibly to where there's almost no chance of that happening. And it's even been diminished further with this tournament expansion, which is pushing the mid majors more and more into the periphery. So, um, you know, don't like the way they've expanded. Like I said, if the playing round was all the bottom at large teams, go for it, right? All those teams are mediocre anyways. Let them play their way into the tournament. But I really don't like the way they've squeezed mid majors out of the tournament, and they've really taken away. The tournament's still great stuff. But they've really taken away a lot of what makes the tournament special and what makes the first couple of rounds of the tournament special. Um,
Yeah.
the attraction is not watching two teams that went 6 and 10 in their in a power conference play. The attraction is, you know, can Miami of Ohio hang with somebody from a power conference? Can a team like George Mason catch lightning in a bottle and get on a run? And I think we've really pretty much eliminated that from the tournament.
Well, and I've argued this, and again, to your point, the last 2 years has not been March Madness. It's been March Chalk. It's been March Blue Blood. It's been boring. I find myself, and I love the tournament, I find myself going, yeah, okay, just get to it. Get to UConn, get to Duke, get to, Florida and whoever. It's not fun to watch. I mean, I talked to the commissioner of the NEC, Noreen Morris, for many years, and I said, you're a 16 seed, no matter what you do. Either you're an outright 16 seed or you're a play-in 16 seed. The committee has decided the NEC is on the 16 line. They've decided which schools are on the line. And now that every 16 seed is going to be fought for, now I'm saying, okay, so the NEC will be there. You're going to put the Big West on that line. Are you going to put, what teams are going to be what conferences now are going to be placed there that are fighting like everybody else to get to a certain point? And again, if they flipped it, Dave, if they said our automatic qualifiers are going to be the 12 seed lines and 2 of the 11 seed lines, and our at large are going to be the 16 seeds and the 15 seeds, I would have been fine with that. I'm a proponent of, if you're the last, how are you the last team in? Like when they put the whole bracket out and they say, here, we've ranked all the teams 1 through 68. Now it'll be 1 through 76. When they rank all the teams, you're ranking a conference champion behind a team that was 9th in their conference. You got a Big Ten team that is barely 500 that's ranked 20 spots above all these other teams, and 15 of those teams that they're ranked above of the 20 are conference champions. But they're the 9th best team in their conference. So, I look at this and I say to myself, shouldn't an at-large team, which is technically the last teams in, right? Because the conference champions are in because they fought their way in and they earned their way in. The at-large teams didn't earn their way in. The at-large teams played games and then the committee decided, do we like that team or do we like that team, or do we like that team more than we like that team? Shouldn't the at-large be the last ones in? And if they're the last ones in, shouldn't they be fighting for their life? And if they're fighting for their life, shouldn't they be the 16 seed, which would make the 1 versus 16 a heck of a lot better if we have 16-seeded Kentucky playing 1-seeded UConn in the first round or something of that sort. I just feel like telling a conference champion, congratulations, you have to play your way in, and then you have to play the number 1 seed, and then telling the 9th best team from the Big Ten and the 11th best team from the SEC that they're going to be 12 seeds no matter what. And what are we really saying here outside of the fact that we're pandering to the autonomy group? And let's be real, we're pandering to half of the autonomy group in the SEC and the Big Ten, just like the college football playoff, because we don't want to lose these conferences that have the money, the means, the resources, and the ability to probably go off on their own outside of the NCAA. So I just feel like the NCAA is in this like world of, we're going to do everything in our power to pander to the autonomy group, to pander to the SEC and the Big Ten specifically, and as long as we make them happy, screw everybody else. But Dave, shouldn't the at-large be the ones fighting for their life? Shouldn't they be the ones that are seeded the worst? I mean, isn't that how that's supposed to be going? Because if you're the last teams in, then shouldn't you be the ones with the worst possible situation? How are you the last team in with a better road in the NCAA tournament than a conference champion?
Yeah, you would think so, right? I've had and I've spoken about this before. Like I've had like an issue for years with, rewarding a team. If you can't go 500 or finish in the top half of your conference, I don't think you belong in the tournament, period. But the committee doesn't seem to agree with that. And, they talk about how 16s never beat the ones. 16s don't beat the one. You're playing the best teams. You don't expect the 16 to beat the one, right? You're playing the top 4 teams in the country. Drop the last couple large teams in the 16 line. They're not going to beat the ones either, they've just, the whole landscape of college basketball, it's like at every turn, it's like, how do we consolidate more power with the power conferences? And you're right, especially it's the Big Ten and the SEC, and to a lesser extent, the ACC and the Pac-12, and you can throw the Big East in there a little bit, and from a college basketball standpoint, I think we're losing a lot of what makes college basketball kind of a special game. It's not college basketball anymore. It's minor league professional basketball. With everybody on a 1-year contract. That's the mid majors, it's getting harder and harder. It's just and they're getting more and more squeezed out. Whether it be tournament access, whether it be being able to retain you. That's why you don't see the upsets. Mid majors don't retain their players because they can't pay them. They can't pay them what you're good player at a mid-major level, you're out of there. It used to be those were the guys that stuck around, and those were the teams that made noise in March Madness. That's why you don't see that anymore.
No, I mean, I just, again, I'm not against the expansion of the tournament, but I am against the what was the SEC a couple of years ago? 12 out of 16 teams. The Big Ten, before they had 18, when they had 14 or whatever, they're getting 9 in. And what did the Big Ten do? Everybody lost, except for Michigan State that year. And Michigan State didn't even have a good seed. And all these other high seeds were wasted on teams that just because they're from the Big Ten, they get in. But I ask the question, and I say to myself, okay, are we really expanding access, or are we just pandering? Because am I going to see 2 teams from the American ever? Am I going to see 3 from the American? Am I going to see 2 from the A10? Am I going to see more than 1 from the Big Sky, from the Big South? Can I see 2 teams from the MAAC, from the MAC, from the CAA? What about the Missouri Valley Conference? What about the Ohio Valley Conference? There's I don't want to see a tournament, Dave, where every year, no matter what they do, I'm going to see, beyond doubt, Arizona, Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Texas Tech, TCU, West Virginia, and then I'm going to see the likes of Michigan, Nebraska, Michigan State, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Iowa. I mean, if you're going to take the majority of your at-larges and you're just going to feed the SEC and the Big Ten, then why not just have an SEC Big Ten championship and call it a day? And it's the same way I feel about the college football playoff is, okay, so you expand the playoff. Does that mean that you're getting 7 schools from the SEC and 6 from the Big Ten? So now you have 13. Well, you take out the champion, so that means 11 of those are at large in the college football playoff, but there's going to be, if they expand to 24, there's going to be 14 at large. So you're going to have 11 at large come from 2 conferences. Then you're going to have Notre Dame. So you're really going to have 2 every year. And who are you going to give those 2 to? One to the Big 12, one to the ACC, so now they get in too, but nobody else is going to have life. The Mountain West isn't going to get another team in. The American's not going to get another team in. Sunbelt's not going to get a team. The MAC's not going to get a team in. So I guess with NIL, if you're a coach and you find a diamond in the rough and he's playing at Lemoyne, well, somebody from Ohio State can pay for that kid and push them into the portal, which is tampering and which is illegal, but who's checking that right now? But this is where we live. We live in a world of, why don't we have upsets? Because of NIL, because of the portal, because of the lack of rules on the portal, because you can transfer 1 million times in the portal and play right away unless this executive order actually pushes something to change. So we already have that, and now we have an expansion of the tournament where we're punishing conference champions. So, Dave, I don't want to say this and believe it, but is the world of the Wofford and the FDU and the George Mason and the George Washington and the Abilene Christian, is that world of those teams winning in the NCAA tournament, is that world over?
It's moving in that direction rapidly. It really is. I mean, look Miami of Ohio, they lose 1 game in their conference tournament and they get the last spot in this year. I mean, like, if you're going to expand the tournament and expand that large bids, if you want to do the right thing by the sport, expand the tournament and award those at-large bids to the teams that had really good regular seasons and got knocked off in their conference tournament. The teams that won 24 games and went 24-4 and got upset in their conference tournament, mid-major tournament, give those teams the additional at-large bids. That would add some interest to the tournament. And it would reward teams that actually had a good regular season instead of rewarding mediocrity because you happen to play in a power conference. I really, you hit it on the head. Like the combination of, the way they're expanding the tournament and the landscape with NIL and the portal, it's pushing. It's pushing mid-major athletics. Everything that's non-power conference is getting pushed more and more into the margins.
Yeah. And what we're essentially doing is we're saying everybody has access in the legislative, in the writing of the contract, everyone has an equal opportunity. But that's not true. Because you can argue every year and say, well, we objectively looked at this and this team was better than that. But you're not going to give the A-Sun 3 spots and take 2 away from the SEC. You're not going to do that. So as much as it's written that it's fair, you and I both read between the lines and know that there's not fairness being made in these rules. All NIL and the transfer portal and now the expansion of the NCAA tournament have done is given the haves more have and the have-nots more not. And that's the world we're living in today, is we're not creating opportunity for everyone. We're writing it as such, but we know what the truth actually is. And I'm getting to a point, I'm a broadcaster. I love sports. I've been broadcasting for 22 plus years. And I'm telling people the NCAA tournament is boring now. It has gotten ridiculous. It's gotten stupid. It's a waste of time because you have literally squeezed the essence of the madness. You've almost squeezed the orange completely out of this thing, and you're not helping the tournament get better. You're not giving the tournament any type of positivity. And again, I've always been a proponent of, if you win your conference tournament, you're in. That means you're in the round of 64. That doesn't mean 19 of you are in and 12 of you are not only playing to get in, but you're a 15 or a 16 seed. Dave, think about that. 12 conference champions this year, this season of 26-27, 12 conference champions in Division I basketball will be fighting for their life in the opening round. And if they win, they're in the worst possible situation. And then the other 19 conference champions get to sit and watch. To me, that's ridiculous.
Well, and here's another little periphery thing that goes with that, is with tournament expansion, you're slicing the pie up more ways. And there's tournament shares for every round you advance. And this is, again, where it's a money grab, right? So now instead of pushing 4 conference champions into the play-in, you're pushing 12, right? And it's, and there's 76 teams dividing the pot now, instead of 68. And then because the way it's structured is going to push more mid-major teams into into the play-in, and the ones that aren't in the play-in are getting pushed into lower seeds. So you're going to see less opportunity for advancement there. So that's fewer tournament shares that come back to those schools and those conferences. And in turn, more money that come back to the power conference schools. So, at the end of the day, the money drives everything. And, it's more and more of just a consolidation of power amongst and a money grab amongst the upper echelon.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that I should be excited that we're talking about more opportunity, but I just feel like it's smoke and mirrors, that it's not more opportunity for all, it's more opportunity for some. And I've never been that person. I've always been the person of treat people equally, not treat some people great and other people poorly, but pretend that you're giving everybody an even playing field. I never lived in that world. Let's jump to the NBA side of things. And I want to start with the lottery because for once, Dave, the lottery worked out for the worst team in the NBA. For once, it actually played in the right direction. When the Washington Wizards ended the season, they were the worst team in the country, not in the East, in the nation. Of 30 franchises in the NBA, their record of 17-65 was the worst. They beat out the Utah Jazz, who were the worst team of the West, who were 22-60, along with the Sacramento Kings. The worst teams in the NBA were the Wizards, then the Pacers, then the Brooklyn Nets, all from the East, and then it went to the West with the Jazz and the Kings, and then the Memphis Grizzlies from there. So as we look at the draft lottery, this is how it went down. The Wizards won the lottery this past Sunday on Mother's Day. Shout out to them. They had a 14% chance of winning number one, tied with Brooklyn and Indiana for the best odds. Washington had basically a 50-50 shot of getting either a top 4 pick or the number 5 spot. So here we are with the Washington Wizards, who now have it. And as we look at the draft lottery, this is how it all broke down. The Wizards, who were the worst team in the NBA in 25-26, have the number 1. The worst team in the West, the Jazz, have the number 2. So it worked out. Worst team in the East gets 1, worst team in the West gets 2. It actually feels like it worked out this year. The Grizzlies, one of those 5 worst teams, got 3. Then the Bulls jumped in and got 4. The Clippers got 5. The Nets, who were the 3rd worst team in the NBA overall this year, got 6. The Kings, who were tied with the Jazz with the worst record in the West, got 7. The Atlanta Hawks, who completely fell apart and lost a game in an elimination situation in the NBA playoffs, worse than any team I've seen in my life, when they lost by 51 to the Knicks. They have the 8th pick. The Mavericks, who had the number 1 pick last year and got Cooper Flagg, are in the top 10 with the number 9 pick. So life's good for a Dallas Maverick fan. The Milwaukee Bucks, who did not have a successful season this year, they have the 10th pick, and what is their future going to look like? The Golden State Warriors, who try to make a push into playoffs, have the 11th pick, and we know that Steve Kerr is going to be their coach for at least the next couple of years. The Oklahoma City Thunder, who are arguably the best team in all of the NBA right now, are in the lottery as the 12th pick. Shout out to them for that, moves that they made. And then the 13th pick will go to the Miami Heat, and the 14th pick will go to a team that was in the play-in tournament for this year's postseason, with the Hornets getting the 14th pick. So, Dave, it kind of feels like things finally went right for the top couple picks, and that those that had the best opportunity and the worst teams actually get better right away. What are your thoughts?
I'll tell you who it didn't work out for is the Indiana Pacers.
That's
You
very
know,
true. That's
that,
very true.
they punted on the season, and then they make the trade looking the next year for Zubac, and they had a top four protected pick falls out of the top four to number five, and they lose it to the Clippers, and they have no first round pick. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, yeah, I mean, it worked out for the Wizards, and certainly worked out for the Clippers. For it's and the pundits all say it's a pretty deep draft and everything. So the one that really didn't work out for was the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, and so if you're Indiana, right, and you have the second worst record in the entire NBA, you won 19 of your 82 games, and then you lose that pick to the Clippers. Once again, the Clippers got the 5th pick via a trade with the Pacers. So now, not only do you lose a top 5 pick, but you're not even in the top 14. You're not in the lottery. You are nowhere to be seen. What do you do if you're Indiana right now, Dave, if you were hoping for things to work out and you roll the dice in a trade, and now you're not even seeing yourself as a part of any element of this lottery? You don't have a shot at getting any one of the top 14 names that are sent. You don't have a shot of making a splash unless you make another trade when it comes to the first round. If you're Indiana right now, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, you hope that Zubac plays at an all NBA level, because that's really the only way you justify that kind of move. Because um, I'm sure at the time of the trade, I mean, they rolled the dice at the time of the trade. They thought, top four protected. They're having a lousy season, and you would think they'd end up with one of the top four picks. And when that fell out of the top four, that trade, especially, some of the guys at the top of this draft, turn out to be like high level, all NBA level, elite level players. If you missed out on a first round pick altogether in what's supposed to be a pretty good draft class this year, that's just a disaster all the way around for the Pacers. Like I said, unless Zubac outperforms expectation by a really significant margin.
Yeah, and the Pacers lost 5 of their last 6 games of the season and obviously didn't make it to the postseason. Dave, when you look at the Pacers roster and you think about the future, I know you mentioned Zubac and the hope that, there's going to be something positive coming from him there. But when we look at their depth chart that they had this past season and at the end of the season, as we're looking at, Tyrese Halliburton, and we're looking at Andrew Nembhard, TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, Pascal Siakam, Zubac, as you mentioned as well, do the Pacers have enough to, and I know coming off of a 19-win season, the question is, well, obviously they didn't here, but if healthy, do they have it? I mean, we're talking about last year they were a playoff team. So, I mean, do they have something to build on? Do they have life? Or is this a team that you think has to be very advantageous in the free agency world after the draft?
Well, a lot of that hinges on how Halliburton comes back, right? I mean, he's an all NBA caliber player if he's healthy and playing close to playing at the level that he was at pre-injury.
Yeah.
That's a team that was an NBA finalist a year ago, like really close, came like a game away from being an NBA champion. So, I think the Halliburton injury is what kind of led them to um, not retaining Miles Turner, kind of punting on the season this year with the idea that I think their plan was go out and get Zubac. We're going to get a top 4 pick. We're going to get Halliburton healthy, and we're going to be right back in the mix in the East again. Minus the top 4 pick, I mean, I would expect them if they run it back with the lineup they have now, maybe make a couple of moves on the perimeter or on the periphery, I think they'll be back as a playoff team in the East. If they have everybody healthy. I think the one thing that they're in a little bit of dangerous waters in that they could end up in that, like, no offense, but Toronto Raptors, Miami Heat range where, they're around the playoffs every year, but they're not at the level of the elite teams in the conference, which is, the Bostons and the Knicks are pretty well positioned right now. The Sixers, if they're healthy, the Cleveland, like those teams, the upper level teams in the East. Certainly Detroit is, won a conference and is pretty well positioned for the near term. So I don't know if the Pacers, I think they'll be back as a playoff team. I just think they're probably a big piece or two away from being able to play with that upper echelon, top 3 or 4 teams in the East.
Well, and like you said, I mean, Halliburton comes back healthy. We know how dangerous they can be. Let's go to the Washington Wizards, who have the number 1 pick here in 2026. The worst team will have the number 1 pick, which is huge here in the draft lottery for the Washington Wizards. We've talked about the moves that they've made. At the end of the season, Trae Young, Anthony Davis, here on the roster. We'll see what happens with D'Angelo Russell and so on and so forth. But we're looking at a team that made a bunch of moves, has some young guys, went and got some veterans, and guys with experience in the postseason. With Washington having the number 1 pick, plus the moves they made before the trade deadline, is Washington, in your opinion, in a position to steal a playoff spot in the East?
I think they could be. I look at them as, a lot of it's going to depend on, I mean, you got guys like Trae Young and Anthony Davis, how that all comes together and how it all meshes with, presumably, I mean, they got the number 1 pick. I can't see them trading it. So if everything comes together, like I can see them like following a trajectory. I don't know if it'll go all the way to where Detroit has, where we're the best record in the East within a couple of years, and they're have a decent chance to get to the NBA Finals. But I think they'll follow that sort of trajectory to where it's probably going to take them another year to integrate. I think they'll be a playoff contender next year. But I think if the dominoes all fall right for that team, I think they could make a quick ascent to being a legitimate threat in the East.
Yeah, and we'll see. But that's a team that I circled based on the moves that they made, and now they have the number 1 pick. So if they strike in the right place there and make a good move, we could see the nation's capital doing some good things in the postseason. Let's take a look at the NBA playoffs before I let you go, Dave. So, and I know that you made an apology to my Raptors there, talking about kind of, the purgatory and whatnot. I also this morning was hoping that we could still talk about life for your Sixers, but that did not happen. Knicks in 6 is what I had, but the Knicks sweep the Sixers. The Knicks have moved forward. The Knicks are the only team that knows that they're in their conference final right now. The Pistons and the Cavaliers are still fighting in the East. In the West, the Thunder are looking to make quick work of the Lakers, and the the Timberwolves are still fighting up against the Spurs. So let's take a look at these series here, and then I'll let you comment. First and foremost, I guess we can start with the Sixers here. So the Knicks being the higher seed as a 3 seed versus the 7 seeded Sixers. First 2 games at home, they won the first game by almost 40 points, and then they won the second game by 6. Then they went on the road to Philadelphia, won game 3 by 14, and then won the final game to clinch it by 30, scoring 144 points in that game. So the Knicks in 4 games against the Sixers scored 137 in game 1, 144 in game 4 and never had less than 108 points per game in this series as they sweep the Sixers. And again, the Sixers dealing with Joel Embiid issues and who's healthy and who's not, and can this guy go? And if he goes, is he at full go? Your thoughts on the Knicks going to the Eastern Conference Finals and the state of the Sixers?
Yeah, I mean, well, I give credit to the Knicks. Like I thought this would be a much more competitive series going in. I thought the Sixers, if they're healthy, they had, an even chance to come out of this series. Turned out to be way off the mark on that one. Uh, I didn't put a whole lot into the game one thing because Philly was coming off the emotional game seven quick turnaround after beating Boston. So like that game really didn't put a whole lot in that. Um, but the thing that I'll credit the Knicks with is like when they fired Thibodeau a year ago, um, I thought the thing with the Knicks with Thibodeau is that he had a tendency to run his guys into the ground a little bit, and he's a guy who was like never a very good offensive coach from the standpoint of at the end of the games that what were the Knicks the last couple of years? Everybody stand around and watch Brunson play, and him try to get to the foul line or create his own shot and whatnot. And when they hired Mike Brown, I thought that was they were kind of doing more of the same because Mike Brown's a guy who had a reputation of a guy who was a defense first guy, not very creative offensively, and could only get you so far. And to his credit, and it seems like they kind of the Knicks played well, and they were kind of a spotty team in the regular season. Played well, I think, at times. Other times, felt like there should be more there. But it seems like they figured it out on the fly in the Atlanta series. And to Mike Brown's credit and his staff's credit, is they're not the same old Knicks on offense. I mean, it's not Brunson just like taking it all on himself at the end of the game. I mean, he's certainly he's certainly their go-to guy most of the time at the end of the games. But their ball movement and their willingness to lean on different guys in different situations, and Towns has been really good. Probably is playing as well as he has at any point in his career at certain times. They've leaned on different guys, different situations, and their ball movement and their offensive execution, I think, has been really good. And I mean, they shot it unbelievably yesterday. I mean, they shot it at an unsustainable clip yesterday. If they were able to do that game in, game out, they'll win an NBA championship. I don't. They're not going to be at that level, and they're a little bit make or miss in that regard.
Yeah.
But I've been really impressed with how they've played together.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I had a good feeling about the Knicks, and I said the Knicks in 6. I didn't think this was going to be a sweep. Credit to them for the work that they've done, and obviously, to your Sixers for knocking off the arguable, who looked to be the best team in the East, the 2-seeded Boston Celtics, who got knocked out in 7 games thanks to the Sixers as the 7 seed moving on. Let's look at the other side of the East, Detroit and Cleveland. Detroit, the 1 seed, Cleveland, the 4 seed. They lead Cleveland 2-1. And we know that Game 4 will be midweek this week. We know there's going to be a Game 5 at least. Dave, I'm not sold on the Pistons, but I'm also not sold on the Cavs, and I don't know if either one of them can stop the Knicks. So I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we talked, last time we chatted, we talked a little bit about the Cavs, and this was a team that was, best record in the East a year ago, and, a little bit disappointing during the season, made the big move to bring in James Harden. Certainly paid off at times for them. So are the Cavs the team that we thought they could be, or are they the team that they were a lot of the regular season? I think that's the big question there. And, as far as the Pistons, huge jump this year. Cunningham is really emerging as a star in the league. This is really this season and this postseason. He's put them on his back a couple of times in the fourth quarter, and really kind of justifying that number 1 pick in the kind of prognostications people had for him. So this Game 4 of this series is going to be really telling. Um, I think if Detroit can go up 3-1, it's probably ball game over. I don't know that Cleveland can beat them three times. Um, if the Cavs get it even, Detroit, like they're a newcomer to the party.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a certain amount of like historically in the NBA, there's a certain amount of having to go through the struggle to get to to get over the hump.
Yeah.
And the Knicks have been there. They're back in the conference finals. Can they get over the hump, right? And you see it, historically in the NBA. You go back to like, Jordan had to get through the Pistons and then, finally get over the hump to the NBA finals and championship and everything. And you've seen that historically to the NBA that it's not often, especially with a team built around a young player like Cunningham and a team without a ton of playoff experience like Detroit. Are they ready for the moment? And that's what's going to be answered over these next couple of games.
Yeah.
The experience and kind of Cleveland endured the struggle a little bit last year, top seed in the East, and they get knocked off, and um, so it'll be fascinating, and I really think the game four is going to set the tone for the rest of that series.
Yeah. I think, again, whichever team shows up, are they going to be able to stop the Knicks on the train that the Knicks are on right now is the big question. On the Western side of things, Oklahoma City, speaking of can anybody stop the train, they're up 3-0 on the Lakers. They won their first two games in Oklahoma City by 18 in the first game and by 18 in the second game. And then they went on the road to LA and scored the most points that they've scored in the series so far, 131 points to 108, winning that game by 23 points. So they've won by no less than 18, and now on the road they're winning by more. It looks to be that Oklahoma City can close this thing out in game 4 on Wednesday. If the Lakers are to try and get one game, we'll see. But Oklahoma City just looks like a raging storm. The Thunder comes before the Lightning, and I think the Thunder has definitely shown itself. Will the Lightning strike and cancel this thing out for the Lakers in game 4? What are your thoughts?
Well, OKC is the best team. I mean, they've proven to be the best team in the regular season. Um, they've looked like the best team in the playoffs, and the Lakers are not. No team in NBA history has come back from 3-0 down, and as great as LeBron is and whatnot, the Lakers are not doing that against the Thunder. So, can the Lakers rise up and grab one, and maybe it's a gentleman's sweep in 5, maybe. I think the thing to be looking at in that series too is um, when the Lakers get eliminated, that could be it for LeBron James. That might be the last we see of him on an NBA court. Like he's been very, there's been not a lot said about his future past this year. A lot of speculation. Will he come back to the Lakers? Will he go elsewhere? Will he retire?
Yeah.
And so I think that's the other kind of side story, subplot to this series is it could be the end of LeBron's career. But in terms of the Thunder, and they're not even at full strength right now, and I mean that they clearly look like the best team in the league. And I think, if San Antonio advances, they present some matchup problems, for the Thunder maybe. But other than that, I mean, I think it would be a substantial upset if anybody beats them anywhere along the way.
Well, and now we're looking at, and you made mention here, the Spurs, the 2 seed, the Wolves, the 6 seed. The Wolves stole one in San Antonio and then lost one in San Antonio. They won one at home and they lost one at home. So the series is tied. Both of these teams have won on the road. Both of these teams have won at home. In the 2-2 series, we're heading back to San Antonio this week in the early part of the week to figure things out. So, Dave, we know that no matter what, we're going 6 in this series. We may go 7. Are you surprised with Minnesota? And are the Spurs on high alert? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the reason this series is 2-2 and not 3-1 was Wemby getting kicked out of the game last night. Um, it'll be very interesting. I don't think the NBA will have the stones to do this, but I mean, if they suspend Wemby for the next game because of the flagrant last night, um, all of a sudden you got a golden opportunity if you're Minnesota to go in and go up 3-2 and coming back home with a chance to close. But I don't expect them like Wembanyama. Maybe he'll get fined, but I really don't expect the NBA to tack on a game suspension. But that's the thing to watch. Um, in the next day or so, like today, if something's going to happen with that, it'll likely happen today. Um, I think as far as Minnesota, I think like Finch and his staff are really probably maybe doing one of the underrated, like 3 years in a row, the Timberwolves has kind of outperformed regular season expectations when the playoffs came along. Um, so I think their coaching staff deserves a huge amount of credit for getting them to another level when the postseason rolls around. I mean, on the surface, you think San Antonio is the better team, but they're looking at a little bit of like what we talked about with Detroit too. Like you got to go through the struggle, and maybe this is part of the struggle. And Minnesota has outperformed and gotten to the conference finals, and Edwards took the game over in the down the stretch last night, so they've got their guy that can put them on their backs a little bit. So. I mean, of the four conference semis, this one is proving to be the most interesting. San Antonio is still the favorite, but I mean Minnesota has proven through 4 games that they can go toe to toe with them.
Well, and I'm sitting here in the studio while you're talking about it, and I'm watching the many angles of Wembanyama's check to the neck of Naz Reid, and I can tell you that. I know they like their Wembanyama, and I know that you got your token players of every league, but I don't think there's a situation where, if we're being real, he doesn't sit out the next game. He shouldn't sit out the next game. I think he should. So I'm looking at it, I'm watching it. Minnesota's gone toe to toe with them. Minnesota's made things interesting. Obviously, these two teams don't like each other, but he took a direct shot. I mean, it looks like this man's playing MMA fighting and not playing basketball. So I'm going to say, Wembanyama, listen, your cards are worth a lot of money. There's a lot of fans of you. There's a lot of excitement in San Antonio. But I don't care what your name is, when you got drafted, and how much your card's worth or how much you're worth. What I just saw, I don't care if it's him or anybody else in the NBA. You're out the next game. You should be. So we'll see what they end up doing, but the NBA better have the stones, or else they're doing what a lot of people are doing, which is, well, we'll punish you unless it hurts us monetarily. And if it all comes down to the money, well, if money is the most important thing to you, you're going to make a lot of bad decisions. Dave, as always, I appreciate your time here today. I look forward to what is to come, and we'll see how things shape out here, and definitely have you on the broadcast as we continue forward. But I appreciate your expertise as always, and your communication on the NCAA side of things as well as the NBA. And you know that when it comes to the basketball world or just life in general, it's always an honor and a privilege for me to have you on the show.
I appreciate that, Dan, and great to talk to you as always. We'll chat some more soon.
We'll talk very soon. I'll talk to you soon, Dave. So with that being said, here on the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take our final step aside here on Wake Up Call, and we will be back inside of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, to wrap up the show with the ingredients to success right after this. Stay with us, where sports meets life.
Hi, this is Chris Rauda.
And Colleen Rakowski from Gray's Craze of Clay.
It's a fun, innovative, upscale catering solution. We've turned eating into a whole new experience. Each of our boards is packed with delicious mix of artisan cheeses. We use premium cured meats, fresh fruits, nuts, and all of the sweet touches that really bring out the best in every perfect bite.
We offer something as small as a grab and go that feeds 1, maybe 2 people, to our large board that can serve anywhere up to 25, 28 people. festival. So we have the ability to really meet and hopefully exceed all of our customers' expectations when it comes to the different varieties of things that we have.
Charcuterie boards or boxes are healthy, fresh, delicious. They're made to order. We're baking the breads here daily. We're baking the cookies here daily. All of our dips are homemade, made in-house. All of our spreads are all made in-house.
When you open that board or box that we have delivered or you have picked up, we want you to know that it was made with care and designed to completely elevate your event, celebration, or meeting.
We've catered parties and events for up to 300 people. So if you're walking in to grab something for lunch or something for date night or movie night, that's great too. Our events go from you eating in the car on the way home to a catering event in a rehearsal dinner or cocktail hour or party.
When we do, again, know what the event is, specifically for a wedding, we like to schedule tastings so the bride and groom can come in and see what we have to offer. And we can then, as we talk, to try to understand what they're looking for, what the venue's like. We do like to have that one-on-one interaction when it comes to catering bigger events.
Our address is 4599 State Route 31, Suite 5 in Clay, New York. We're on the corner of Route 31 and Henry Clay at Clay Marketplace.
You can order on the phone by calling area code 315-409-4171 or online at grayscraze.com/clay-ny. Come visit us at Gray's Craze of Clay, New York,
where we want you to celebrate everything.
Hey everybody, this is Rockney Roberts from Willow Rock Brewing Company. We are here in Cicero at the Willow Rock Pizza Pub.
And I'm Kevin Williams, also from Willow Rock Brewing Company. Happy to be here and happy to be partnering with CNS and Dan Tortora.
You want some place where you can feel comfortable and hopefully ingratiate yourself with the community. And Kevin, he grew up right down the road from here. I grew up in Brewerton, so not too far away. We know the area, we know the people, they're great, and we were just really excited to be able to come to the area.
Yeah, and having the opportunity to meet some of these coaches, some of the people in general already, and seeing the CNS colors kind of around, and already partnering on a smaller level with individual teams really made this make sense to us to really formalize kind of a partnership with the school and get this rolling.
You know, Willow Rock to me has always been about high quality beverages, high quality experiences, and now high quality food at our pizza pub. You know, that was something new for us when we came to Cicero. Right from the drop, we knew we were going to have a focus on the highest quality food to go with our high quality beer. At the Willow Rock Pizza Pub, you're getting high quality, hand cut, top notch ingredients. We're open for lunch. That's a really important thing for us, is to be able to get that person in here like, hey, you only got 30 minutes for lunch, but we're gonna have something for you that you can get quickly and available to everybody.
Yeah, we wanted something that was just a little bit outside the box, a little bit outside of comfort zone, but still something that you could rely on to be consistent and easy to look at and easy to be like, oh, I can see myself eating this. I can see myself wanting to have that more than once. Eating a whole pizza like our beef on weck pizza, I've never seen one anywhere. It's just a great ideas, great inspiration across the board. We're their spot to stop. We're their friendly neighborhood watering hole, as well as pizza place and place to stop for a restaurant. Not just beer drinkers here. We've got wines, we got cocktails, we got non-alcoholic stuff for the kids.
The location is more important today than it ever has been before, and we're lucky enough to be here in Cicero. The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is a place where you can bring your family. You can come in, you can grab a soda, you can relax. You can come after a game, before a game, your parents, your grandparents. Our goal is to make sure that everyone's comfortable here. We want students, we want athletes, we want your coaches. It's going to be a good time. So come here, enjoy the high quality food, high quality beverage that we're going to offer to everybody. And hey, go North Stars.
We're so happy to have the North Stars. We are very much a kid-friendly establishment. We have tons of space outside for everybody to be playing outside, as well as listening to live music, enjoying some pizza.
The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is open 6 days a week here in Cicero. That is Tuesday through Sunday. And our website is willowrockbrew.com, and our socials are at Willow Rock Brew. So find us on the net, find us in person. We'll see you soon.
Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So Canine Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. Canine Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry-loving friend. Right, Lily? In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. We want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to a Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. You can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, everyone in the world's going to sell a pizza or a burger or a french fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place. And I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. A delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Caz location and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point because you get a little something different at each one. We understand how hard it is to
work every day and get after it every day. And when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
Hi, this is Chris Rauda.
And Colleen Rakowski from Gray's Craze of Clay.
It's a fun, innovative, upscale catering solution. We've turned eating into a whole new experience. Each of our boards is packed with delicious mix of artisan cheeses. We use premium cured meats, fresh fruits, nuts, and all of the sweet touches that really bring out the best in every perfect bite.
We offer something as small as a grab and go that feeds 1, maybe 2 people, to our large board that can serve anywhere up to 25, 28 people. So we have the ability to really meet and hopefully exceed all of our customers' expectations when it comes to the different varieties of things that we have.
Charcuterie boards or boxes are healthy, fresh, delicious. They're made to order. We're baking the breads here daily. We're baking the cookies here daily. All of our dips are homemade, made in-house. All of our spreads are all made in-house.
When you open that board or box that we have delivered or you have picked up, we want you to know that it was made with care and designed to completely elevate your event, celebration, or meeting.
We've catered parties and events for up to 300 people. So if you're walking in to grab something for lunch or something for date night or movie night, that's great too. Our events go from you eating in the car on the way home to a catering event in a rehearsal dinner or cocktail hour or party.
When we do, again, know what the event is, specifically for a wedding, we like to schedule tastings so the bride and groom can come in and see what we have to offer, and we can then, as we talk, to try to understand what they're looking for, what the venue's like. We do like to have that one-on-one interaction when it comes to catering bigger events.
Our address is 4599 State Route 31, Suite 5 in Clay, New York. We're on the corner of Route 31 and Henry Clay at Clay Marketplace.
You can order on the phone by calling area code 315-409-4171 or online at grayscraze.com/clay-ny. Come visit us at Gray's Craze of Clay, New York,
where we want you to celebrate everything.
Hey everybody, this is Rockney Roberts from Willow Rock Brewing Company. We are here in Cicero at the Willow Rock Pizza Pub.
And I'm Kevin Williams, also from Willow Rock Brewing Company. Happy to be here and happy to be partnering with CNS and Dan Tortora.
You want some place where you can feel comfortable and hopefully ingratiate yourself with the community. And Kevin, he grew up right down the road from here. I grew up in Brewerton, so not too far away. We know the area, we know the people, they're great, and we were just really excited to be able to come to the area.
Yeah, and having the opportunity to meet some of these coaches, some of the people in general already, and seeing the CNS colors kind of around, and already partnering on a smaller level with individual teams really made this make sense to us to really formalize kind of a partnership with the school and get this rolling.
Willow Rock to me has always been about high quality beverages, high quality experiences, and now high quality food in our pizza pub. That was something new for us when we came to Cicero. Right from the drop, we knew we were going to have a focus on the highest quality food, to go with our high quality beer. At the Willow Rock Pizza Pub, you're getting high quality, hand cut, top notch ingredients. We're open for lunch. That's a really important thing for us, is to be able to get that person in here like, hey, you only got 30 minutes for lunch, but we're going to have something for you that you can get quickly and available to everybody.
Yeah, we wanted something that was just a little bit outside the box, a little bit outside of comfort zone, but still something that you could rely on to be consistent and easy to look at and easy to be like, oh, I can see myself eating this. I can see myself wanting to have that more than once. Eating a whole pizza like our beef on weck pizza, I've never seen one anywhere. It's just a great ideas, great inspiration across the board. We're their spot to stop. We're their friendly neighborhood watering hole, as well as pizza place and place to stop for a restaurant. Not just beer drinkers here. We've got wines, we've got cocktails, we got non-alcoholic stuff for the kids.
The location is more important today than it ever has been before, and we're lucky enough to be here in Cicero. The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is a place where you can bring your family. You can come in, you can grab a soda, you can relax. You can come after a game, before a game, your parents, your grandparents. Our goal is to make sure that everyone's comfortable here. We want students, we want athletes, we want your coaches. It's going to be a good time. So come here, enjoy the high quality food, high quality beverage that we're going to offer to everybody. And hey, go North Stars.
We're so happy to have the North Stars. We are very much a kid-friendly establishment. We have tons of space outside for everybody to be playing outside, as well as listening to live music, enjoying some pizza.
The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is open 6 days a week here in Cicero. That is Tuesday through Sunday. And our website is willowrockbrew.com, and our socials are at Willow Rock Brew. So find us on the net, find us in person. We'll see you soon.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Make sure you head out there Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5. GG Cards and Breaks is where you get to be a big kid every single week. So go there yourself, bring your family, and go and get something for you. Go and get something. Great place to get a gift for somebody. If you've never collected a card before, now is a great time to start. I could tell you this, I don't always remember what I had for lunch, but you can take any card in my studio and go, hey, where'd you get this? And I got a story behind a bunch of these cards, and many of those stories all lead back to GG Cards and Breaks. So make sure you head there today, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5. Many thanks go out as well to Chick-fil-A on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. Go and visit them today for Nostalgia. The Jalapeno Ranch Club Chicken Sandwich puts that jalapeno ranch club on top of the original, the spicy, or the grilled chicken. And of course, you can get their strawberry hibiscus beverages, making a spin on the nostalgia of Chick-fil-A with that nostalgia effect that they have with Megan Sorber and her team with the giant drive-through, massive parking lot, and of course, you cannot miss the giant brick building to dine in at Chick-fil-A in DeWitt on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. I thank you all for being a part of the show today, and thank you for being here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as we've had some expanded coverage here this morning. So cannot thank you enough for being a part of the show where sports truly meets that thing called life. We will be doing the ingredients to success in a separate video, but I want to thank you for being with us up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com all the time, and mixlr.com /wakeupcalldt. Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And many thanks to our growing team of wonderful partners in Central and Upstate New York: Great Lakes Honda City, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards of Breaks, Mon Paz, the snack capital of the world, Myers Creek, the Baked Potato Express, Pizza Man, Skippy's Ice Cream, Chick-fil-A in Cicero, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Brian's Landing, Gray's Craze of Clay, New York, Game Point Sports Complex, Avicoli's, Chick-fil-A in DeWitt, Willow Rock Brewing Company and the Willow Rock Pizza Pub, Mother's Cupboard, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, and of course we are the exclusive partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. It is Bearcat time every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni. You can find it all by going to youtube.com /wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Binghamton playlist. And of course, you can find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said here on the show, I want to thank Dave Paziak. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for watching our specials last week as I was down in the great state of Florida, my second hub of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. As always, we say God bless, no stress, do your best. We'll talk soon.